Wow. He said that I was his idol. I've got to return serve. During the days of the Amco Cup, there was a kid called Lewis sitting on the bench, and Keith Barnes was the co-commentator, and he said, I can't work out how this kid doesn't get in the run-on side. He said, he's going to be a superstar. And it just turned out to be Wally Lewis, and I basically called nearly all his career, and I grew up as a commentator, and I was the one idolising Wally Lewis. He went on to be the king. He dominated State of Origin for a decade. That's how good he was. I think Stacey Jones used the word surreal, and that's exactly what this is tonight. For me, anyway, it's surreal. It's an amazing honour, and I'm thrilled and I'm humbled to be a recipient tonight. To be honest, I thought my good friend, the patriarch of rugby league broadcasting, Frank Hyde, would be the chosen one. In saying that, I'm sure his turn is coming very shortly. Speaking of Frank, when I was just a little kid, 7 or 8, I dreamed of one day being a sports commentator. Every chance I had, I would pretend I was Frank Hyde, calling the footy from the gum tree or the peppercorn tree down at Willow Park at Junee, which is now appropriately called the Laurie Daly Oval. I'd either be doing that or rolling marbles down a slope and calling them as horses, thinking I was Ken Howard. Or I might even tackle, again from up in the peppercorn tree, the cricket, and I was Alan McGilvray. I think I chanced my arm at the swimming pool, thinking I was Norman May. In fact, I got to work with 3 of the above mentioned, Ken Howard, Frank Hyde, and Norman May. What wasn't in this dream of the 6, 7 or 8-year-old kid was to be inducted into a Hall of Fame. And so to the NRL and the Commission, Peter, on behalf of all of us in the media, I can't speak on behalf of administration, but I'll take a punt and do it anyway. Thank you for opening the hall for the contributors. It's much appreciated. My journey has been a wonderful experience. I called my first rugby league game back in 1966 at Bar Medman. It's down near West Wyalong, between West Wyalong and Temora. I'd been in the police force, and I got an invitation from 2LF Young to join them to call football. The obvious question from the manager was, have you ever called football? And my answer was yes, of course, telling a blatant lie. I'd never called football. I might have called the trots, might have called the greyhounds, but I might have rolled some marbles and called them horses, but I never called football. So anyway, I was there for about 3 days, and they sent me out to Bar Medman to call a famous old football event in the country called the Mar Cup. They lost it a couple of times in the Murrumbidgee River, and to all intents and purposes, it might be still there. But from Bar Medman, and not having called a game, but I tackled it and I got through it, thank God. In the 53 years that have followed, 93 Origins and 45 grand finals, the game has introduced me to some lifelong friends that I'll never, ever forget. In fact, I just walked out to the toilet and Johnny King was there. Johnny King, the famous St George winger. And he's sitting next to Noel Kelly. Dear friends, just like Kenny Arthurson and John Quayle and the late Ron Massey and the late Ian Frickberg, who gave me a start at Channel 9. My first co-commentator in Sydney was the great Keith Barnes on the Amco Cup, Johnny, in 1974, which you won. with Western Division, beating Penrith in the final. And from there on, I've been blessed with some incredibly talented analysts, and I want to thank them all. Wally is one of them, and the others have been or are immortals, but certainly outstanding rugby league brains. I want to thank a few people, the viewers in particular, that have allowed me into their homes for the last 5 decades. To my family, Mum and Dad, for believing in this crazy kid who wants to be a sports commentator. Mum said to Dad, "What's a sports commentator?" To my own children, Mark, who's with me tonight, Chris and Holly, for their never-ending love and support. And of course, my soulmate, my wife, Cher. To those of you who've watched the footy from home, you only had to put up with me once a week. But for my wife, Joan of Arc, she had to deal with my paranoia, my hypochondria, my nervous dyspepsia, my fear of flying, and many more ailments 24/7, 365 days of the year. Needless to say, many of our friends are doctors. I absolutely love this game. I answered that question in an interview earlier. I absolutely love the game. I once said when I was guest speaking, I'd be happy to work for nothing. And there was a big voice at the front table. It belonged to Kerry Packer. He said, "Then why don't we draw up a new contract and we'll start again?" Frightened the shit out of me, tell you. Talking of Kerry, can I say thank you to Channel 9 for giving me the opportunity to fulfil that dream that I had bred and nurtured way back when I was six years of age, 70 years ago. The people, though, that I need to thank most are the players. These people tonight, outstanding rugby league players, those that went before them, outstanding players, and they are the ones who endure the punishment. They are the people who provide the entertainment. Without them, we don't have a Hall of Fame, we don't need a Hall of Fame, and we don't have this great game of rugby league. In conclusion, I just want to say how happy I am for the Frelingos family with the induction of Peter tonight. It's ironic in many ways. He and I made our first tour together in '71, and then we were part of the founding group that introduced the Dally M Awards in 1982. It's interesting that he started following rugby league when they put him on a train and took him to watch South Sydney, and he was 6. So there's another little item about one of the great rugby league journalists of all time. So Maureen, to you and your family, it's an honour to be inducted on the same night as Peter. This is a fantastic milestone, believe me it is, and I thank those people, as Craig Young, who chose me in the team, because if it was for football only, I certainly wouldn't be heading for the Hall of Fame. Thank you.